In Numbers 31 verse 17 to 18 it says,
Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. You may have heard people say that Numbers 31 verse 17 to 18 condone men being able to sleep with children. A subsection of that is Israel being allowed to have sexual slaves. Why were they only to kill the young males? And why kill only the active women? Why were only the virgin women children allowed by Israel to keep alive for yourselves? Also, how do you know who is a virgin and who commanded it? Now, to start this video, I'm not just going to give you a straight answer, because if I say, for example, no, you may look at this video from the get-go and say, no, you know what, he's just saying this because he has an agenda. These nations customarily had the habit of burning their children, their young children, alive as idol worship to false gods. So the second point I'm making here is a lot of people watching this video today would have held much more respect and much more honor for their children than the people we're actually talking about. Because anyone that would burn their new fresh babies alive in acts of devotion to a false god, there is a problem with that. In them, they would basically make them go into idolatry and fall into idol worship, something that God was completely against. And because God was completely against it, if Israel started doing that, then they'd be in a position where God would actually have to punish them. And as a result of the Midianite women being sent to covertly sleep with the Israelites and basically get them into idolatry, God actually wiped out 24,000 people as a punishment. And because the Midianites used this trickery and deceit with the women to seduce Israel against Israel, what God then said is, he's basically said, vex the Midianites and smite them. Midianites tried to destroy them one way, they weren't able to do it. So what they basically did next is they basically sent these women to basically sleep with the Israelites and to seduce them and get them over to idol worship. Once that happened, God actually punished the Israelites and 24,000 of the people were killed. And then God said, now I want you to basically vex them and smite them in return. So now in Numbers 31, 17 to 18, once the Israelites have got basically killed the Midianites and they've brought women alive back to Israel, Moses is angry at this. Why was he angry? Because these were the women that were complicit in seducing the Israelites and basically having God kill the 24,000. So based on just this light context I've given you in regards to the Midianite women, you can see why the Midianite women were killed. It wasn't because Israel didn't want to sleep with impure women or anything like that. It was because these women were complicit in the destruction by God of 24,000 Israel. And even if it was because Israel didn't want to sleep with these sexually active women, these were the same women that Israel actually were basically sleeping with. So that view of this occurrence holds no weight. So why were the Israelites only able to keep the young women children alive for yourselves? The first part of unpacking this question is relatively easy, based on why only the active women were killed. Because the young women children, for example, were not complicit in the action of the older women gone out to sleep with the Israelites and seduce them. Nor would they try and fight against Israel when they grew up, as the young males would do. And this is one of the reasons we was referencing previously in the video about how we'd actually bring up the young males again. The younger males would actually grow up and try and fight against Israel, because stereotypically that's what happened. And women would be more likely to integrate opposed to try and fight and divide. And obviously based on this, they could be more helpful to Israel in their day-to-day dealings, and they're not going to be left vulnerable to just other people out there that could do God knows what to them, and they wouldn't be able to fend for themselves without any protection. Obviously now they're captives, so bear that in mind. So now we get to the most controversial part of this, which is keep alive for yourselves. And I've explained the whole sort of handmaiden part, as in they'd be given over to servitude, all those kind of things in the last few seconds. But this is where the whole mindset of like sexual slavery comes into. And I want you to think about these things specifically. What was the sin Israel was punished for? Sleeping with the Midianite women was the sin, right? And so if they were willing to sleep with these young women, why wouldn't they have slept with the young women previously in a situation where God killed 24,000 people? Why wouldn't they have slept with the young women previously in a situation where God killed 24,000 people? It literally makes no sense. Now, just like the young males, we're going to bring this back up even further, but I'm just posing that question to you previously so you can understand based on the context it makes no sense. They were literally killed for that sin. So why now would they go and want to sleep with these young children if they were literally previously sleeping with Midianite women, and these weren't the women that were basically involved in it?
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles, okay, and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you other brethren. That includes you other fellow believers, familiar camps that follow this doctrine set up by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom also to you sincere sisters, and shalom to the elect. So, peace to the elect. So anyway, this video was inspired by this guy here that left a comment, and then I wanted to see a Christian perspective on it, and he just totally mangled it. You know, the thing about the truth is people can't accept truth. What these Christians and these other Israelites are doing is taking the fear of the Lord away. They are ashamed of the gospel, right? They don't understand what the Lord is doing, because remember, the Lord's thoughts are not our thoughts, but they don't even have the understanding that the Lord is a stern power and he's a loving power. They're trying to take that away. We came on those slave ships, was not nothing nice, right? And guess what? As they say, grape. They grape. Guess what? Yeah, the Lord allowed this to happen to our women and men and boys. We'll get into that too. But anyway, this is by Wonder Bread 1323. I believe he's a follower of the deacon. So when I pulled that out in the video, right, he said Numbers 31:18 is not grape. Also in Exodus 22:16, and if a man entice a maid, that's another situation. But we're going to go into this, right? He said it's not grape. First of all, in Deuteronomy 22, the reason why it was called rape in that 22 and 25, because that woman belonged to somebody. Now, when you go down and talks about the 28th verse, and some other scholars and translators will say violation, it's not really a violation, because the ancient women did not belong to themselves. They either belonged to their fathers or they belonged to their husbands. That's how it was. You didn't have a lot of say-so. So when you did these things, it was because women were property. And you can't explain this to these fools, man. They can't explain it. They're so brought up in the Western culture, they just can't see it. But anyway, going into this video, this Christian, these soft Christians, effeminate with shaven faces, well, he hasn't caught up to the bearded ones yet. But he goes on, and I'm going to just get to the point. We're going to show you some rough things in the Bible that the Lord has done. And I don't know why these Christians always try to shadow it and make it seem like it wasn't of the Lord. And the first part I want to get to, this is what he said. This is what's bothersome. He said, well, with the little girls, why didn't they lay with them? Right? This is what he said. Why didn't they lay with them? If they had all messed with all the other women, why didn't they lay with them? Let's go to Numbers real quick. This guy, man, these Christians, why would you debate somebody like this? Our job is just to clear up the madness. Numbers 31, and was it Numbers 31? Yeah, 13. I'll try to speed through this. And Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the princes of the congregation went forth to meet them without the camp. And Moses was wroth with the officers of hosts, and with the captains of thousands and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle. And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these women caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. Right? And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. Right? Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that have not known man by lying with them. Right? But all the women and children, which is really just sons and daughters, but all the women and children that have not known a man by lying with them, keep for yourself. Now listen to the context. It says, now therefore kill every male, right, and kill every woman that have known man by lying with them, but all the women and children that have not known man by lying with them, keep them for yourselves. Number one, there was a thing that the Israelites would practice, that a woman would have to become a certain age before you laid with her anyway. Right? So, and then there were certain women that they didn't get, first of all, they would be young women. Right? So they haven't been tampered with. But given time, they would have. This is why we go to Ezekiel 9. Right? We go to Ezekiel 9. This is what Ezekiel 9 say, 9 and 4. I have, these guys, man. And the Lord said, go into the midst of the city, the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for the abomination that is done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said, in my hearing, go ye after through the city, and smite, let not your eye spare, or neither have pity. Slay utterly old, young maids, little children, and women, but come not near any man whom have the mark. This is telling you the Most High doesn't play games. And this guy is sitting here trying to finagle his way to say that they didn't sleep with the young woman. That's what they're saying. When you took them captives, when you read Isaiah 14, he said the Lord was set, Israel in their own land, right? And in that chapter in Isaiah 14, he said, thou shalt be servants. Let me get it real quick. And this is what he said. This is what the Lord said. What this man is trying to do is saying that these men didn't take these women, these young women that have not known man, and laid with them. That's what it's going into when you read Numbers 31. There were young women who, because I don't know why they put children, but they consider them as underage. Now they wouldn't have been messed with. And furthermore, the thing he was going into, that this was a time in the past they was causing them to be passed through the fire. What the hell do you think is happening now? Look what Diddy is doing. Are they not still making sacrifices to other gods? Are our people not making sacrifices to Jesus the Christ? That white Jesus, right, with the root of wickedness, right, that slept with his sister and she slept with everybody, and the father joined in, Rodriguez, you know what I'm saying, and her brother, who was laying with other men. And you're going to tell me that's not a sacrifice to another God? Look what the Israelites are doing, walking around talking about it don't matter about his name, but you can call him whatever you want, but you keep the name of Christ on the front of your shirt. Yeah, it's the same damn thing, man. So anyway, let's get back. Numbers 31 and 18. But let me go to Isaiah 14. Right? For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, right? Which is Israelite foreigners. When you look at their word joined and you go into the Hebrew, it means uniting with them, so they can't be heathens, right? And they shall cleave with the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall rule over their captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Now, we're going to go 1 Samuel 2 and 6, since he said that it wasn't Israel's fault. And, I understand. I know where he's going, but understand that the Lord set all this up. You do know that. Romans 2 and 6, the Lord killeth, the Lord maketh alive, he bringeth down to the grave, he bringeth up. The Lord maketh poor, he maketh rich, he bringeth low, he lifteth up. He raises up the poor out of the dust, and lift up the beggar from the dunghill, and set them among princes, to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. Right? Let's go to Amos real quick before we go back to the lesson, the other part. Amos 3 and 6, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the Lord and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? With a question mark. Of course. So when you see these things happening and killing all these people, and this is the weird, sick part about it. Let me show you how sick these guys are and these other Israelites. You mean to tell me the Lord told men to kill all these women and children and everybody else, but you're going to make an argument about rape that happened in the Bible? Now, what is more fierce? Right? So you make this complaint and say, well, wait a minute, that didn't happen. Numbers 31 is not grape. It has nothing to do with it. But when you read the verses before that, what did it say? Kill. Kill. It's like that don't have no significance. All to make the argument. Yeah. Okay. Let's go into some commentary. And first, before I go into the commentary, let's go into an example of the Bible. Judges, the 11th chapter and the 32nd verse in the NIV. This is what it says. Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites. No. 29th verse. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh and passed through the Mizpah of Gilead. And from there he advanced among the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give me the Ammonites into my hand, whatsoever cometh out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in the triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Now you mean to tell me when we keep reading that the Lord is not behind this in Proverbs 20:24, man's goings of the Lord? This is telling you what? The fear of the Lord. We're going to get on. We're going to go further. Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him to the hands of the Ammonites. Just getting to the point. Verse 34. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of the timbrels? She was an only child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. That was his only daughter. When he saw her, and remember what I said, women were property. He gained to make a profit off of her, right? But Western culture doesn't accept that either, right? It says, when he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me down and I am devastated. I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." And what was the vow? If you give me to the hand of the Ammonites, anybody to come through that door, I will sacrifice. Right? This is what he said. This is the integrity they had back then, right? "My father," she replied, "you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised. Now that the Lord have avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request," she said. "Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." Now, you know the women today, you know what they would have been doing if they knew they only had 2 months to live. "You may go," he said, and let her go for 2 months. She and her friends went to the hills and wept because she would never marry. She wasn't even concerned about, hey, I'm going to be passed through the fire. They weeping because you're not going to marry. That's a curse. Right? After 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed. And she was a virgin. So, unbelievable how people dumb down the scriptures, right? And don't bring out the truth of what actually is happening. This is Numbers 31-18, even in their so-called scholarly context, right? It says, "Keep alive for yourselves." It's the Eliot's commentary. The Israelites were allowed to make slaves of their captives. Now, you're going to tell me these Israelite men did not lay with these young women of Midianite. They could have been beautiful women. Is that what you're going to tell me? I may just have to end this video. Anyway, let me go. It's not much. It's all the commentaries pretty much said. Either keep for yourselves, either to sell them as slaves to others or to use them as servants for yourselves. Now let's be real. Deacon Akar, this guy maybe, but several other men, right? Let's be 100%. You're going to tell me if you had some nice little servants for yourself, what would you do with them? I mean, sure, it's about being a helper and doing work for you and things like that, but come on, dog. Come on, man. Tell the truth. Tell it like it is. Just tell the truth. All right. But all the women that have not known man, by lying with them, keep alive for yourselves. Now, why would he say that? Now, this guy would say, well, because they haven't sinned. No, it's not known man because what? If they known men, they was already defiled. Remember, you wasn't supposed to mess with an Israelite woman that already been with men. I mean, she had a husband that died, But come on. You would defile yourself by laying with her. The spirit of wickedness was on him. Because what? Because you can humble the woman. She'll become your spirit. I mean, it's simple, man. But it is what it is. What can you tell these guys? You can put it up here. It will show their own commentaries. And let me read this out of the pulpit commentary. I don't know what this is going to say. It says, and by the way, most commentators, they got a whole lot of commentary on it. For whatever reason, this scripture, they didn't put a lot of commentary on this. I don't think you needed a commentary for something that was so obvious anyway. It said, keep alive for yourselves the domestic slaves in the first instance. Subsequently, no doubt, many of them became inferior wives of their masters. I didn't even know it says that. Or were married to their sons. Infants were probably put to death with their mothers, right? But this is what it says, keep for yourself. For domestic slaves in the first instance, subsequently, no doubt, many of them became inferior wives, concubines. That's all an inferior wife is. Right? Come on, man. Do we got to get any more clear than that? That's all I have on that. Shalom.